Alright, so recording this on my phone since I haven't done one of these freaking reviews in so long that every camera of mine, the battery died because, when you don't use it, you lose it. Anyway, so loud noises are my fans because it's hot as fuck here. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about the movie The Sadness. It came out last year, technically, but it's only available currently now in the US. That's how I gauge the things I review. Anyway, so it's a movie that's out of Taiwan. Initially, I thought it was Japan just by just the initial looks of how like gory and shit are, and apparently I just can't tell my Asian people apart, so that's what I thought. Anyway, it's out of Taiwan with a Canadian director. I don't know why it took me a second there to figure out the word director. Oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Anyway, so this movie is just like it's like a typical zombie movie kind of thing, And it like I said, it takes place in Taiwan, and like they don't mention COVID, but they're pretty much saying that like this is like a COVID mutation. They're like we had a pandemic and then this is some new shit. Anyway, it's like so. Whereas normally like I like how I'm just leaning with my phone. So normally like with zombie movies, there's an outbreak and shit happens. So this isn't so much like Train to Busan kind of thing, where it's like, like kind of, I guess you would say, like traditional, zombies, but more of like Resident Evil 28 Weeks Later kind of raid zombies. Like, this is different because people don't really get like bitten and then they like turn into a zombie as one does. It's just like shit happens to them and then they're just like around the vicinity and then they get turned into a zombie. So like obviously I'm gonna go into spoilers because how else am I gonna fucking talk about this without it's also on Shudder, and like a movie's gonna be like really graphic and gory when like the horror movie streaming service puts a disclaimer beforehand to let you know that this shit is gonna be like, it's gonna be a lot. And that says something. And it also made me, like, while I was watching this movie, go, alright, maybe, this might be just a scotch too much for me. And again, that says a lot. Like, I like, was talking to Paul the other day about it, and he's like, oh shit, this movie must be something that made you blush. It's like when I was in college and I was watching The Suicide Club, and I remember it was like that opening scene, where like all the teenage girls just jump onto the train tracks and their bodies are like exploding and getting run over, and it's like gory and gushy and all that nasty stuff. And I go and like I bite into the freaking guac of my Chipotle burrito, and I was like, like maybe not the best choice I made that evening. Anyway, so this movie, back to what I was talking about. So this movie, like I said, it's super graphic, it's super gory. There is like way too much emphasis on like rape and sexual assault in this movie, and I was like, could you not? People are just dying, innocent people are dying, and then you're like, let's throw in that, and not even just like once, but several times in the movie, and I was like, oh, right, thanks. Like that very like creepy old man on the train thing, and again, it happens several times, and I'm like, and I'll go like not into detail, but kind of like what else. Anyway, so yeah, so like the movie's like, someone gets like hit with, was it like hot oil or hot water or something, and their face starts like bubbling. Like, oh my god, the practical effects in this is really good. It is really good, but also like Jesus, it's like oh, just the face is just melting off and just the sinew and all that shit, and then just everyone's freaking out, and just from the fact that this guy was just like from this thing, then somehow like that's how like the zombie-ness gets like transferred. I don't know why I'm leading with this camera. This whole thing is just going to be at an angle. I don't know. yeah, so like all that shit happens, and then like then like, you know, people are running out of this restaurant like you would, and then all of a sudden other people are like like all that stuff, and it's like, but you didn't, like I get it, you know, the blood splashed on you, like, oh god, like in 28 days later, like just the unlucky thing of like the dad looking up and the blood drips in his eye and he's like, rah, rah, you know, like that horrible thing. No, it's just like you're just around the vicinity of it and it's just like, but you it's like you rage zombie, and again, like they're fast zombies, and fast zombies are fucking scary as fuck because they're like, you know, but then also like, and then like, you know, because it's Taiwan and not America, so it's not like there's guns, but there's a lot of people with knives and shit. And so there's like, oh my god, there's like that scene where it's like they're in the fucking subway and the entire car is fucking covered in blood, like covered, and they don't go like the kind of orangey, like the red orange 80s kind of slasher blood, like the Tarantino Kill Bill blood. No, they went with like high tension fucking, you know, like true to life, like blood, you know, and it was just like, holy shit. And it's just the entire subway floor is covered in blood. Kind of like how the New York subway system is constantly covered in just like a layer of, you know? What's that a layer of? Who knows? It's not like we clean the subways anymore because COVID is over, you know? Remember when they cleaned it for like 2 weeks or something and then it just stopped happening? Who cleans the subways? Anyway, so it's like one dude just like on the subway, just like looking all swarmy and stuff. He just like takes out a knife and just starts stabbing people. And because this is Taiwan and it's like, you know, Asian people, so no one is like, yo, what the fuck, man? Because I'd be like, yo, what the fuck? I don't know, like my fight or flight would kick in and I would probably try to like fight the person, you know, like I don't know, like that's just me, you know, like if shit goes real, I would initially I would back up and then like reassess the situation, and then I might just start, you know, elbows will just start flying, you know, but they're all just like, just like literally like flailing their arms while they're being like stabbed, and it's like, god damn it, my people, this is why we get picked on, you know. Anyway, so yeah, they're just like, people are just being stabbed on the train, and everyone's like, ah! And like all the people are being stabbed, and it's just like other people who haven't even got blood splashed on them, then they're also like, you know, like going into, you know, their thing, and then like the creepy man, it like on the train is just like, oh my god. Oh, I forgot to mention that this movie kind of pretty much revolves around a couple. And it's like, you know, the girl is like business girl and the guy is like some dude. And it's pretty much like them, you know, like the zombie thing happens and then they're separated and they're trying to like meet up kind of thing. And that's pretty much the movie. And the movie kind of bounces back from like back and forth between seeing how she's doing, how he's doing, all that stuff. So while you're on the train, you're following her. And she's actually like, for like a female like protagonist character in a zombie movie, you know, like it's either the bitch is like kind of stuff, and you know, it's like seems to probably be like a kick-ass lady, but will slip on blood and then like die in 2 minutes, or like somehow bitch becomes Sarah Connor or some shit. But she kind of was like in the middle, where like there are times where I'm kind of like, okay, girl, I need you to like, you know, fuck some shit up, and sometimes you're like, okay, you're doing the thing you're supposed to do, you know. Anyway, so she was very outspoken, because when the creepy guy is like like pre-zombified, she's like, hey, stop being a fucking creep, I'm gonna need you to not. And then he's like, like, you know, doing like a boomer moment of like, people today, you can't even talk to them. And it's like, you're being creepy, bruh, you're being creepy, you know. Anyway, so it's like so like all the stabbing and stuff happens, and there's kind of like a hefty girl on like the train, and then like the creepy guy just decides, I'm just gonna stab her in the eye with my umbrella, you know, because like he got taken over by the rage virus just by being in the vicinity. Sure, why not? Anyway, so like all this shit happens, you know, the girl helps the chubby girl out to be like, oh, we gotta get out. You know, like all this stuff like happens. Like just like they end up in a hospital, all that shit, and then the crazy shit happens in a hospital. The boyfriend gets like his fingers like cut off. The effect was kind of cool. Like most of the stuff is not saying visual. Most of it's practical effects. Obviously, the finger thing is visual effects because, you know, where you gotta actually chop off someone's fingers. That's method acting. You tried that, Jared Leto. But anyway, like I enjoyed the girlfriend's journey more than the guy's journey because the guy was just kind of like, oh, no, I just gotta run around that. Like he's just kind of like that, and then the girl was like, I'm determined to, you know, figure this out and get the fuck out of here. Anyway. So at one point in the hospital, you know, things slowly progress into more weird, gory, gushy stuff. And anyway, there was like a zombie orgy that happens, you know, like you do, like it happens, you know, all the time, it seems. It was just kind of like, you just see like 4 bodies just kind of like, it's just like, and you just hear like moaning, ooh, ah, ee, ooh, you just see like, just like midsection, maybe a little booba kind of thing. You just, you just see that. I feel like I'm like a teenager describing sex. You know, they're like, I'm in the next room. You know, guess what I'm doing? You know, I'm a grown adult, and this is how I describe sex. Anyway, so yes, there was that little like kind of zombie orgy. It's gross because they're just like, it's also they were like it's like, yeah, they were naked, covered in blood, like, ooh, hot. Anyway, but then it was like, then it like panned up to their faces and they're like looking, and you're like, ew, and then, you know, more, you know, that happening. I just love I keep describing it. It's just like a failed applause. Like, anyways, I'm such an idiot. So that happens, and oh my god, at one point, so like the girlfriend, she runs away. I'm kind of all over the place with this movie, but this movie makes your brain go all over the place because it's like, again, it's so graphic, it's so gory that even I'm just like, okay, like like I said, there were times even I was like, maybe just dial it back a scotch, and that's saying a lot because like sometimes I like watch movies and it gets like insanely graphic and gory like that, and I'm just like, yeah, let's go. But, I mean, I think, obviously, where I drew the line was a lot of the assault stuff, and that's the parts that, like, that got me uncomfortable, obviously. Like, just, like, the effects stuff is fine, but yeah, when it got to, oh my god, because, like, at one point, so, like, the chubby girl gets, like, left alone, because, like, that girl's like, yo, I'm sorry, every person for themselves, and she's out, and I don't blame her. And so, like, the big girl, she's obviously, you know, she's starting to change because, like, her lips are turning blue, and she's like in a neck brace, like, in a wheelchair, and she's like, oh, and she got, like, her eye covered kind of thing, because you remember I told you she got poked in the eye with the umbrella. And the creepy guy comes over and, like, says some shit to her, pulls the eye patch back, and, like, you don't see it, but he proceeds to fuck her in the eye hole. Yep, I just said that. Those are words that I've said, and now they're permanently on the internet that I just said that. Yeah, and he proceeds to do that, and I was just like, ah! Like, straight up watching it, like, ah! And mind you, these past few days, I've been feeling slightly under the weather, and feeling a little bit nauseous, so also, on top of that, watching this movie wasn't really helping. Just like, you know, and then when that happened, like that scene, I was just like, you know, all that stuff. Yeah, so that happens. Anyway, every person for themselves, and the girl ends up like escaping. She's running up, I was supposed to say running up that hill. These children just recently learning about Kate Bush. Anyway, so she's running up the stairs of like the hospital, like you would, and all that stuff. I just peeled off a layer of skin off of my lip. And so like she ends up in, I think, like the maternity ward or something, and like this dude is like, come in here, it'll be safe, and somehow the maternity ward has like a fucking like like, oh, like 6-inch steel doors or some weird like shit where I'm like, well, since when does maternity wards be like that? Anyway, so he thinks she's infected, which I don't blame him for thinking that. He's like handcuffed, and by then she's literally like, she had like a white shirt on because she's like an office person, right? And that shirt is red. It's like towards the end of like Silent Hill when that mom, it's like she had like a nice like light blue outfit, and by the end it was like red. It's like that. And he's like, handcuff yourself to that, and here's chemical shower kind of stuff. And then he starts talking about how he's like, I was the first person to detect this thing happening, and the zippity bop boopity bee. And then she's freaking out because she's one in this chemical shower too. This random stranger is like, I need you to undress, and she's like, I'd rather not. I'm not infected. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. I don't believe you on that. And anyway. So then he starts being creepy and stuff, and I was like, come on! And like the what's it called, the biohazard bin or whatever, there's like a baby that they CG'd the eyes look like it's zombified. It's not, the zombie eyes are just pretty much just like big scleras, the big lenses, that people wore. Yeah, anyway, so there's a zombie baby, which, like you do. I mean, a lot of movies do zombie babies anyway. I mean, freaking Brain Dead or Dead Alive, whichever title you go by, that had a zombie baby, and that got hit with a frying pan and put into a blender. God bless Peter Jackson. That was a great movie. Anyway, so weird stuff happens. Anyway, so... like, the dude ends up injecting the chick with the virus, I think. I don't know. I think by this time, I was just like, like, maybe I shouldn't have watched this movie feeling like shit. But, like, he injects her with shit. And she, like, I guess, like, she's not patient zero, but she's, she has the immunity thing, kind of like 28 weeks later, where, like, if you have the heterochroma thing, then you're like immune and all that stuff. Yeah, so anyway, she ends up like escaping or not. You're not too sure because like she like runs up the stairs, you hear a helicopter, but then you hear like a lot of gunfire, so like it's assumed that she like makes it alive, but you could also assume that like they think she's one of them and like shoots her and all that stuff. The boyfriend doesn't make it because when they end up meeting up, he's already like changed. I mean, the fact that your fingers were cut off and you were exposed to, it seems like this is very like, it seems like the zombie thing, because I guess it's like a, what's it called? A mutation of possibly something kind of COVID related. It was airborne because, like I said, the moment people just started being like weird around others and everyone else was like being weird, that kind of shit. So anyway, so yeah, the boyfriend didn't make it, and he was saying like, and also like this zombie virus just turns everyone into like creepy, rapey vibes, because even the boyfriend is like, like saying some like gross lines, and I'm like, is this movie over? Excuse me, is this movie over yet? This movie's like, is like 90 minutes long, but like I said, the assault stuff just makes it feel a little bit longer and uncomfortable, not in a, what's that movie, Irreversible or whatever that fucking movie was, with that 10-minute long rape scene, and I'm like, why is this on the recommended list of movies to watch before you die? I could have like literally lived my life without watching that movie, especially that scene. God, why is it so long? Anyway, so like for like I said, the graphics, the special effects, great, because it's practical, it was really good, all that stuff. Story-wise, it's kind of meh, because it's like, how many fucking zombie movies, have we seen? How many zombie shows? How many zombie things exist, So, like, how much more, I guess you would say, different, original, can you be, So... like I said, I would say watch it for like the practical effects, because again, everything else is just kind of like, all right, like you kind of like predict what happens next, kind of stuff. I gave it like, I think 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is kind of like, it's not mid, it's just a little bit better. It's mainly because of the effects, because other than that, Jesus Christ, yeah. But yeah, anyway, that was the sadness. I love that it's called like that is the disease that everyone caught. It's called the sadness. Yeah, it was gross. It was really gross. Yuckies. Yeah.